the next session we all have been deliberately waiting for. Let's move ahead with the next thing, which is a panel discussion. I think, we always love to have a detailed conversation with our industry expertise. People want to exchange a lot of things, a lot of knowledge, a lot of their experience, and a lot of their expertise as well. So moving ahead, here is a fireside chat Metaverse unleashing the new era in banking, and that will be conducted and moderated by Mr. Abhineet Sarkar, Innovation Leader, Digital Solutions, Tata AIA Life Insurance. Well, Mr. Sarkar is a fintech and digital innovation leader with more than a decade experience in working across banking, financial services and insurance, BFSI industry and technology consulting services. He is currently leading and devising the digital innovation vertical at Tata AIA Life Insurance. That's not all. Also an active mentor of CI11, Center of Excellence and Innovation, Entrepreneurship and Startup, CIES, and co-author of the AI book published by Willie. That's not all. He has been also featured in FinTech Times UK on Future of Quantum Computing in Financial Services in 2019 and received a FinTech Leader Award by FinTech India and Summit Awards India in 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a huge round of applause for Mr. Abhineet Sarkar out here? To take it forward from here with our industry experts. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So I would like to welcome Mr. Surya, VP and for digital from Star Union Dai-ichi, and Ms. Neha from TECHVED Consulting. So as my co-panelist for this. Okay. Great. So hi, good afternoon, and I think it's quite lunchtime for everyone, but please bear with us. I think we'll give a good food for thoughts, and that will keep you, alive for some of the interesting thoughts what we have in place. Great. So the topic for the discussion is today unleashing the metaverse, right, for the new era. And let me give you a story about what metaverse is and how it has been shaping up. We always hear one story about metaverse is someone in a book mentioned about metaverse, Neil Stephenson, right? Let me take you 30 years back from there. So Neil Stephenson mentioned about metaverse, coined the term in a book. But what exactly metaverse is and how the thought process has come to age is something. Let's go back 30 years back, in somewhere around in 1960s, when then actually a concept of the ultimate display has come in, right? And when we say the ultimate display, it allowed you to visualize your world in a 3D space. That's how everything started. From that point of time, the first VR kind of headset was launched. After a few years, like in 3 to 4 years, there was something called as artificial reality, which we at times coin it as an augmented reality space, right? So, which allowed you to interact with different people residing in different rooms. So, a very interesting computer graphic at that time created a concept of artificial reality where they allowed you to stand in 2-3 different rooms and you can interact without even being connected to them physically. So it created an artificial world for you. Then we actually, after 20 years after this, somewhere around in the 1980s and 1990s, there were, VR headsets which were actually launched for consumers. This has been, and why this journey has been, because it started with creating a 3D virtual world, then interaction between different people, and then it has been commercialized to everyone to be used as a VR headsets. And then metaverse as a term which has been coined in a book. Moreover, the technology has been socialized by one of our very big tech giants, as we all know, who has rebranded the entire organization, and that's how the entire metaverse as a concept emerged, and everyone was very interested to know what exactly this technology is about, right? So I think, and I want to define my definition about metaverse, and I will request Surya and then Neha to put their thoughts as well. That what exactly as metaverse is? It is a virtual reality, or it is a augmented reality, or it's a mixed reality. I think it's connecting your virtual world to a physical world, and it has always to be persistent. And when I say that, if you're closing your app today, if you're closing your physical world, if you're closing your virtual world, it should not stop there. Like how you're using your mobile apps today, your food delivery apps today. Once you close this, still you know where your delivery is going to be tracked. So when I talk about the metaverse, you have to connect your virtual world to a physical world, and it has always to be a persistent. So that's my thought on metaverse, and then I would really like Surya to give his point of view on what metaverse is.
Okay, I think Abhineet has touched upon quite good, detailed on metaverse. I would like to give a little different perspective as to what is the use of metaverse, or how it is going to be become the need in the future. We have to understand how our society has evolved from being a joint family to a nuclear family, and now we are talking about solo. When you talk about solo, it is good, everything is as per you, but then you need companion. Now, rather than looking out for a companion in the physical world, in metaverse you look for a companion in the virtual world. You create your digital avatar, get into metaverse, just get a VR headset, 30,000-40,000 rupees VR headset, get into that world, create your digital avatar. Most of you would have created on WhatsApp your digital avatar. Just create that, get into the space, chat with anyone, roam around with anyone. So the generation that is coming up, we would know that kids are playing Roblox, Minecraft. They are already on the virtual world. So metaverse is something which will give them that companionship, that exposure in the virtual world, which probably they are already getting into. The generation is already getting into. So that is what metaverse for me is.
Namaste, everybody. So Surya's definition of metaverse was very interesting. It almost made me for a minute think immersive Tinder, right? Where you get companionship in a 3D environment. For me, metaverse has a lot of use cases. So a quick introduction to TECHVED first. TECHVED is a digital transformation consulting organization. We help a lot of organizations, BFSI being the largest domain that we look at, reach their digital targets. That could be through a website, mobile application, IoT, or any of those interventions. We are increasingly getting metaverse inquiries, increasingly getting questions on what can you do for us in the BFSI space. Now, when I explain metaverse to them, or when I touch upon what is metaverse, because that is what senior leadership wants to know today. What is this metaverse, right? How many of us here have searched metaverse on the Google? Okay, I see only some 40% hands. The others have not even searched, right? So that is where we are called in to tell the senior leadership, hey, what's metaverse? How can it help us? By the way, on Google, in the past 2 years, the word metaverse, search on that term itself has increased by 70 to 100%. That talks a lot about what the future of metaverse could be. In 2 years back, in 2020, there was $10 billion investment in this metaverse industry. Last year alone, it was $120 billion investment in this industry. So that's how large metaverse is going to be. Now, what is metaverse? So, everyone's given their own explanation. I will try and give you my explanation of metaverse. We were in a Web 1.0 a few years ago. What was Web 1.0? I go type a URL and a website appears. I go to the company information. And that is about it. That is what internet was. Then it came into a Web 2.0. Web 2.0 was where I could give my comments as well. So I could also, it was no more asynchronous. It became bisynchronous. I could also reply to the comments. I could leave my reviews. I could interact with the website. I was not just consuming information. I was also being a part of the content being generated on the internet. And that's 2.0. Now, what is 3.0, which is, metaverse? Metaverse 3.0, interchangeably used, very similar. I am within the internet. I am not just interacting. My avatar, me, is inside the internet in an immersive experience, with or without virtual reality glasses. So a common myth is, do I need VR glasses? And that's what people ask us, that, in India, people don't have VR glasses. How can we even create Metaverse? Metaverse does not essentially need VR glasses. If you have VR glasses, it's a added advantage because your experience is far more immersive. But if you don't have it, doesn't mean you cannot create a Metaverse experience, right? So it's me in a virtual avatar, walking inside a virtual world and either interacting and finding companions, or gaming, watching an event, banking, etc., etc. The use cases are many, and I'm sure as we go along we'll talk about it. But that's Metaverse for me, where I can enter the internet, I can be a part of that virtual environment, and I can do a whole lot of things that I can do in the real world.
No, agreed. This is a very interesting point, what you mentioned, Neha and Surya, that interacting is one of the biggest thing, and one of the biggest issues with metaverse definition is also at times that we only think about VR or AR as a point of view, that if you're wearing a glass, that's what metaverse is. But that's not exactly how you define, and it's really interesting to see that. And I think if we think of multiple use cases on how a metaverse can be utilized in a way, I would really like to, because you mentioned about Web 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, that's how the whole web has, leveraged and that has evolved in a way. And I think Metaverse is also going to follow a 3-phase going forward. So if I think, and before I go there, because you also mentioned about the kind of investments which has been made, that's pretty huge, and industry is, is very open up to go for that. And because I also remember one of the reports which mentioned that the projected market for Metaverse is going to be $800 billion plus by 2030. So that's pretty huge. So people may not ignore it. The only thing is we have to go and start experimenting with as many use cases as we want. So I can think of Metaverse going in 3 phases, like how web has evolved. Metaverse is going to be evolved in those phases. The first phase, I would like to call it as a meta transportation, wherein you are actually creating or taking your physical world to just a virtual world. So for example, you have a branch which is physical available there. You are creating a just online version or a virtual branch for yourself. Doesn't have anything. You can just show some of the facets of what your product is, what your things are around. That you're just transporting your physical world to a virtual world. That's phase one. When we go to the next phase 2 or 2.0 of Metaverse, I would like to call it as a meta mutation. When I say that, you are actually going to the interaction zone, wherein you are putting your, let's say in the branches, you have different agents. Customers comes in, they interact with each other. There's a huge interaction which is happening. So that's the phase 2. And the third phase, which is quite far away, which I think right now is the meta economics, where you're actually start using NFTs, start using your other digital assets as one of a transaction mode. So those 3 phases is what I think will help us to think of what use cases we can make in Metaverse. But the first step has to be taken up. And then I think gradually we'll go to 2.0 and 3.0 of the Metaverse as well. So that's where I think the whole...
That's right. So what's happening currently is, there are many Metaverse that exist today. Today, it's not that Metaverse is new, right? There is Decentraland, there is Sandbox, there is Minecraft, there is Roblox. These are all individual Metaverse, not governed by anybody, right? And that's the biggest challenge, because there's no governance today. Nobody owns it, right? So if there's any theft, you don't fall in under any court of law. You don't fall in under any jurisdiction. Interoperability will be important, where I can go from one Metaverse to the other, and they're all governed by somebody. That's the first step to making your theft-proof transactions. If you don't want to go that path, then what Abhineet just said, which is you create your own verse. You create your own digital twin. You don't have to go and buy a plot in Decentraland. By the way, a small plot, which is like a 16 meter by 16 meter in Decentraland, costs you anywhere between a 10 lakh to a 12 lakh. Right? So that's how much a Decentraland plot costs you, where you can take the plot and create your virtual branch. Or you can rent a plot, rents are as high. So it goes beyond, even what a Mumbai real estate costs you, which is anyways very high. So you can create your own digital twin. You can create your own verse, which is exactly what Abhineet said. That, that's the first starting point where you create your branch. Let your customers start coming there. Let them start getting used to the 3D world. And then you build upon it. You start your sales presentations there. You start your product launches there. You start your product recommendations there. In fact, a lot of insurance companies are using Metaverse already for virtually assessing, how much the damage to the property is. Whether the claim, how much should the claim be settled at, or what's the risk profile of this customer? What is the damage, the property valuation? So all of that has started in the Metaverse world. So there are use cases beyond a virtual branch that are emerging in the BFSI space. But I agree that it will go through these 3 steps where it starts with a branch, then goes to interactions within the branch, and then goes to monetization and transactions. We're just a little away from the 3rd step because we're still looking at regulations and governance, but that's the natural ladder that it will take.
Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, completely agree to both of them. I represent Dai-ichi, and Union Bank is our promoter. So being a PSU bank as well, they took a lead, and they have created a virtual branch on Metaverse where you have specific avatars. You can select avatar and then check out all the options, like Abhineet was mentioning about meta transportation. It's kind of a meta transportation where you could check out all the options, what are the products, the services which are available at the bank. We are in talks with the bank as an insurance player, so we are also looking at a space, taking a space in their metaverse. They mention it as universe separately. So we are in talks with the bank, and we are actually working on that front where we also want our products to be placed so that whoever is coming on the metaverse of Union Bank knows that yes, SUD Life as an insurance company is also there.
So Surya, what's your roadmap like for your Metaverse?
So see, there are 2 use cases which we are currently looking upon. One is on, obviously, with the bank getting this products on their bank metaverse. Other is on the employee onboarding side. So we are trying to create a metaverse where we give a kind of an onboarding experience. So there are a lot of management trainees coming from top B schools. So we want to provide them that kind of an experience to start with at HO, and then probably we can take it to the branches as well in the near future.
And a quick question. So in the onboarding, because onboarding is a very strong use case in Metaverse, I keep hearing from, Accenture's created their Accenture Land where they onboard new people and train them. A lot of, we're working with one of the leading airports, Bangalore International Airport, for their Metaverse for training people on various aspects of the airport. How have you seen a difference in numbers when you trained without the Metaverse and now with the Metaverse? Is it better?
We have still not started that, so only we'll experience it. But we just created a prototype which was very, very simple. So we have not actually started the journey. This is something which we are working upon, and probably this financial year we'll have something. Yes.
Okay.
That's very interesting, because that's the first step someone has taken, and even I think everyone will have that roadmap sooner or later in the journey. They have to be. So we cannot ignore it as we see the numbers, the projections around it. So it's pretty difficult. But as Neha, you're also mentioning about, that we have lot of Decentraland, Sandbox, and other publicly available metaverse today, right? And either we have to be on that or we create our own. And being a BFSI, I would say no one would like themselves to be exposed immediately where you don't have a right hold of regulations there. You don't know how you're going to be managed, what compliances applies to you. And if you are talking about going to a next stage of transaction or economics of metaverse, it's pretty difficult now, right? So what would you think that can be, your perspective on, or the risks around what, if we try to go to a metaverse today, what can be the risks around it? So like I can think of one point that data privacy is going to be one of the biggest challenge, because you try to always have a different version of what you are in real, and you try to create a different version on a digital area, right? At times it's like that. And how are you going to maintain that privacy, what you're sharing, what is the kind of identity you are sharing to the virtual world and what you are in a physical world, how you're going to manage and confirm that it is the same person who is actually there. And even let's say if someone is very diligently creating an actual professional profile of themselves on Metaverse, how, and someone other who is actually creating a whole new dimension of themselves. So there is no way you can actually, right now identify, there is no code of conduct to, or a meta conduct, I would say, which is there yet, which will guideline all these things. So what is your point of view? Where do you think it is going and how it should be shaped up in a way?
It's interesting. The Gen Z is the consumer of Metaverse. You and I are not. I don't know how many times we go to Roblox, but my kids and their friends go to Roblox every day. They don't care whether the profile is real or not. So for them, my real profile, me, does not have to be my virtual profile. They can be two different people, and they're absolutely fine with it, right? So we probably don't think like that, but for them, the virtual world is a different world. So we were, internally, we have our own OpenSea account where we create NFTs, and we're experimenting. Everyone in the world is experimenting, right? So we created NFTs that looked like the real world, right? It's called the Great Spirit of India. So our NFT handle had NFTs which represented India in various festivals, etc. When we showed it, who buys on OpenSea? Youngsters buy on OpenSea. So we ran this through some youngsters, and they said, this is so real, who's going to buy this? They don't want to buy things that are real. So go and see some of the NFTs that are sold, like the Bored Ape yacht, which is spoken about. He's the most idiotic-looking monkey that I've ever seen, but bought for some $1 million, right? So they don't, even if you look at the Roblox accessories that are sold, right? They are capes and they are, headgears, which you and I will never buy in the real world. So the real world is not what the virtual world is for these youngsters. So that I am not real is okay with them because they don't expect the guy there to be what he is in the real world. However, the problem is not that. The problem is the impersonation, which is theft of your identity. Your avatar can get stolen in the virtual world, and all the money that you have in the wallet, all the crypto that you have in the wallet can be stolen. However secure we may think blockchain is, there have been instances where blockchain has also broken down. There have been ASX and FTX that we've been reading, where blockchain as a technology has also broken down. It has its own constraints, while it's the most secure so far. So data theft or identity theft or avatar theft is a problem more than the avatar not matching my real world, because that nobody cares today.
I agree to that. To an extent that in a virtual world, maybe people have a different point of view and they may not be least concerned about if it is, what I am in actual world, because my virtual identity should not be stolen. That's what will be my concern if I am in virtual world. But I'm also thinking it from a point of view wherein, let's say, as a BFSI, if we want to go into a metaverse zone or ecosystem, if you want to get into there, because in any of the BFSI today, the three components, what I see is your KYC, first of all. Then comes your further checks, third-party checks, and then your payments, transactions. So if I just divide, BFSI is a well-regulated entity, right? And it will definitely would look up in a way that if I am going into metaverse, it has right set of security in there. It should have right set of compliances in there. It's not like anyone can go and create different, like an agent. If he's going to a metaverse, we cannot expect him to create a different version of itself, selling something else, doing something else, right? So that privacy has to be in sync with, at least on the BFSI context, if I say. But as a gamification finance, if I talk about, wherein you are creating games and like a play-to-earn kind of model where you don't bother about your identity. But I still think that privacy and managing that reality with virtual reality with your physical reality is something, there is a bit thin line in there. I still think that. So, Surya, what will be your point of view? Where do you think, how it is?
See, I'll like to go a couple of years back to answer your question. Where our previous generation used to go to branches, meet the officers, and we went into mobile banking. We started using smartphone, mobile apps. We started using. Now the generation today is not even using the mobile app. They are using Google Pay. They are using Paytm, Phone Pay. Earlier, we would have told that how will banking happen through a UPI, or how will someone use a Phone Pay, Paytm to buy grocery or to buy insurance. But all of us had to go there because the generation is there. Metaverse, with all the regulation, with all the data privacy, security, and everything, kids today, even the teenagers today are glued to that, glued to a lot. So where these are our future customers. They are our consumers or customers, and if they are on the virtual world and they are excited there, why would they want to go anywhere else for banking? They would want banking also to be there, or say insurance, or say financial products, mutual funds to be there. So it will evolve. Probably this is a very, very nascent stage, and everyone is trying to see how it can be done, but it will evolve because they will not come out of their virtual world.
No, that's true. I think there is one more point of view, and Neha, I would write your comment on that, because it's more towards an experience side. So if you see the Roblox or any other Minecraft, those are, for anyone, if they see, it's like a pixelated game. It's hardly anyone would like to play that. At least I would not like to play that much time. But those are, if you see the number of downloads for that, it's going to be completely, you'll be surprised to see how much people are playing and, towards that. What do you think is going to be that factor which anyone, not only the Gen Z, because everyone would, at some sooner or later, want to be part of that metaverse? Where do you see what can be that motivating factor for them? Is it going to be the experience, or a different kind of experience, or what engagement we should try to think of in a way that people should start using and be more accommodated with metaverse kind of thing?
So I always think that metaverse is not something that a 50 plus is ever going to come to, right? 40 plus, you can get them there. But a 30 plus will accommodate it, and anyone below that is already on metaverse in some way or the other. So that is where your consumer is. What is going to make it a success is the engagement part to it. Experience is a part of engagement. How much engagement have you built? So for example, some case studies that I would want to give you from your domain, which is BFSI. HSBC has already bought a plot in Sandbox because they want to engage with gaming enthusiasts. And they know that if they lure the gaming enthusiasts, they can then make them their customers, because these 16, 17, 18-year-olds are going to make a bank account very soon, right, if they don't already have a bank account. Or, my son, for example, chose a bank account. He's 14, and Yes Bank and Axis give them, there are bank accounts that they give for teenagers now. He chose a bank account after seeing which one was the easiest to use app. So experience for them is a very natural thing. If you don't give them experience, they don't care about the monetary aspect of it. They're all kids born in, with silver spoons. But they want experience. That's the prominent factor that they're looking for. So engagement is what they will look for. We all know JP Morgan has opened a bank branch called Onyx in Decentraland. So Decentraland, if you haven't seen, you should go back and check, is a virtual land they've created. You land in a central space, and then you can teleport to different parts of the world. So they've created Tokyo, and you know how Tokyo has something called Harajuku. They've created Metajuku. And within one of the streets of Metajuku is Onyx, which is JP Morgan's virtual branch. So you enter the branch and you can do a whole lot of things. And these kids are very, very excited about it. They love to go to that branch, or at least visit and see what's going on. So JP Morgan has already got these people interested in the brand called JP Morgan. And tomorrow, if given a choice, they'll open a branch, account there. So catching them young is what banks have to learn to do. They have to already have their presence in these spaces where these kids are engaging, and for example, KB Bank of South Korea. They've opened their branch in, again, I think Decentraland or Sandbox, one of these places, where they interact with their customers, young customers. Their analytics says that the only customers who come in that virtual branch are young customers. These young customers in 5 years are not going to be young customers, right? But if you're not there in Decentraland or any of these verses today, you're going to miss out on them in the next 5 years. So that's my take on it, that you need to engage with them today.
I completely agree to this because you have to be, you have to show your own presence if you want to tap that market. And these players are very young age players, even from 9, 10 years old are actually, going into those metaverse and trying to assess that. But what do you think? Even Surya, I want to ask you. Maybe what kind of support you think we should get from a regulation point of view, or do we there should be some kind of regulation around metaverse? What do you think of how to go ahead and what will be the way forward for that?
See, as Neha mentioned some time back, interoperability is something which is which will be the key. Now, if I talk about PhonePe as an app, I go to PhonePe, I get a lot of things to do. Okay. So if a bank is creating a metaverse, and as a teenager or 20-year-old guy, I have to get into that. Then if I want to buy grocery, I have to get into something else. If I have to buy some clothes, I have to get into something. That interoperability is something which is very, very critical, and regulators across industries have to ensure that that is there to give that kind of an experience to that 20-year-old or 25-year-old. Yeah, so that is something which is very,
Maybe something like unified metaverse interface (UMI) we can think
That
of.
have to exist. But on a lighter note, products excel when the governments are sleeping. So, the moment you start putting regulations and protocols, this growth stops. So I think it's the time for it to grow, and regulations can come in later.
Yeah, that's a bit sensitive topic to touch upon, but I would, definitely see that there has to be innovation, but it has to be in a way should not breach any kind of compliance. At least I believe that. So you have to be very compliant with what you're doing, and innovation should at least be within it. But at times you are in a way, there's a thin line where at times it restricts you to think out of the box. And once you create it, then you create a new set of code of conduct around it. So yes, it's something sensitive to, so I'll not delve more into it. But right, so what I think is from a regulation point of view as well, that because we are not aware of the platforms which are currently working today. And as I was mentioning, unified metaverse interface kind of thing, wherein we should not depend on the public metaverse which are available today to be part of that model, for example. And it's just a thought. I'm just being a bit blue-skied about it, not being very, please don't say nothing is there yet, which I know. I'm just thinking out loud on this. But there has to be some kind of, aggregation wherein each of the segments, whether it's banking, financial service or insurance companies, should create their own ecosystem which is kind of more regulated way, right? It's not being open to everyone, so that you get an experience of metaverse, you can try out and test things like how a sandbox works. Maybe we can think of creating a interface which will have a metaverse sandbox having a right interface for managing the interoperability part. So that can be way forward, which we can think of going forward. People may try and come up with those kind of models as well.
So that's happening. So a lot of big players are trying to do this. NVIDIA is trying to do it. Facebook is trying to do it. They're trying to own this space and become like the owner who governs this. But it's a far-fetched reality because there's so much in it there's so much to sort out before they can actually become the owner of any one big metaverse. But what I think is, the common myth that people have that metaverse is going to isolate you from the world. People think that if there's metaverse, people will sit alone, solo, and not interact with the real world. I see it differently. I think metaverse is going to connect you. It's going to shrink the world even more. It's going to connect you to your loved ones. It's going to shorten the distances. Because, if I had to, my siblings are in different cities. I can't go for a movie with them. But with the metaverse, I can invite them. We can together watch a show. We can chat. We're like sitting in different places, but together watching a movie, which I can't do otherwise, right? So it's going to actually get your loved ones together. It's going to be more productive as a workspace because remote training to the remote employees, onboarding remote employees who feel very left out today. Any HR person would tell you managing remote employees is a task in itself because onboarding them, making them be a part of your culture is difficult. But the moment you have immersive technologies where you're all sitting together in a virtual space and working, you just get more productive. So it's a way to build happier spaces, more productive spaces, spaces where your loved ones can interact more rather than get isolated, is my view on Metaverse.
This recalls me something my son and his cousin brother. So they play Roblox.
Yeah, all the time.
yeah,
I've seen kids across cities, cousins across cities playing
And
together.
they're very proud of, buying stuffs there, and they proudly claim that I own this particular product in Roblox, I own this. So there is always a sense of ownership that develops. We didn't get a chance to have that ownership, at least, but they get us, at least in the virtual world, they get a sense of ownership that, hey, this is what I am owning, and they're very proud to, talk about it. And it's very costly at times. It's not, it doesn't come cheap. So yeah, that's how it is.
So it's interesting, Roblox as a game, which is on Metaverse, is free to play. They don't make money out of the game at all. They make money out of the accessories that they sell on the games. So one Robux, which is the currency on Roblox, is I think 4 or 5 rupees. But they make so much money on those in Roblox purchases, in-app purchases, that it's crazy, And Roblox as a population is almost half the world. The kind of population that plays Roblox is half the world. And they start from a 5-year-old to a 15-year-old. So that's the age gap that's playing Roblox today. And no surprise then that Justin Bieber chose to do his concert on Roblox, where he got the audience pan geography, pan world. He could have never imagined to get that audience in a physical event or concert that he would have done. He sold more tickets than he has ever sold. So, that's the power of the kind of worlds or metaverses that we're talking about.
And it has made people very very conversant with financial ecosystem also in a way. There is a whole, and I'm not promoting any company here, but there is a company called NFT5 which I just recall and they have created a whole lending ecosystem from the NFTs and collaterals what you own in a virtual world. So you can actually put your NFTs as a collateral and you can get certain cryptocurrencies out of it at a certain rate of interest, and then you have to return back, and it's not like dependent on any of your branch ecosystem. It completely works on a smart contract. The moment you buy it, there is no way you can do a fraud, there's no way you can try to skip your EMIs or anything. It's on a smart contract. You have to think through, because once you're done, its deduction is going to happen. So that entire ecosystem of being aware of how the financial services works, that is also inculcated in a way via this metaverse ecosystem, and that's something I think is going to be in future, and that's how we are going to move forward. There is a whole new market which has to be tapped yet, the ones who are playing this game, and we cannot ignore it. Like you mentioned about JP Morgan being there, it's creating that branch. They have created awareness among that particular set of people, and every company has to create their awareness in that area. But I also want to mention one last thing in there. You cannot ignore any sect of people, any age group of people, because I still think that I never thought my anyone about 60 plus or 70 plus will be so conversant to use a UPI app, right, or WhatsApp as a service. We never thought, because I think our parents are using WhatsApp more than us. So the thing is, if we are creating an experience, we have to think of an holistic experience where it should be so easy and so engaging that it should not be any different. There should not be any difference between any age or sector groups, right? And of course, a new market has to be tapped, but a new world has to be created, which is very simple and comfortable for everyone. So that would be my, closing kind of points from my end. But I would really like to know from you, Neha and Surya, what will be your closing point of view on this?
So yes, I agree. What made WhatsApp or any of these technologies very popular is vernacular. I could type in Bengali, I can type Bangla in Marathi, in Hindi, and voice. I could send voice messages. One of the earlier speakers also, when they mentioned about UPI, said voice is very powerful in India because people don't want to type. we are creating some verses for, which we rent to the clients, where we've made voice-enabled metaverse. So you can invite somebody to go with you shopping, and when you go shopping, you can converse with that person either in the form of text or voice, which is only between you two people. So you can talk to that person, you can say, hey, what do you think of this camera, this phone? So you're walking around in a virtual shop, conversing with a friend, just how you would do in a mall. Right? So voice-enabled verse is something that we're creating. Or, we're also looking at possibilities where vernacular is there. So if I type, I can do type in my own language. It's under the initiative called Bhasha that we have, where I can enable metaverse in various languages, where I go type in the language that I want. Today, Decentraland, Roblox, all of them are just primarily English. And that's one of the deterrent for Indian audience to go there, especially a tier 2, tier 3. We want to create a verse which is vernacular. When I go there, I see a street pretty much like I'm walking in, the Chavdi Bazaar of Delhi or Fashion Street of Bombay, where I see many languages, diversity is an inherent part of that metaverse. So that's what we're working on.
Surya?
Yeah, so totally agree on that front. So we have to move where the generation is moving, and generation is on the virtual world. So we will have to take that step ahead. So I think it will be a fast step rather than a slow step. Probably only time will tell, but yes, it will be a fast step for sure.
Great. So, thank you. I think this has been a good discussion, and I really enjoyed talking to both of you. And I hope if any questions are there from the audience, we are okay to take up now.
Dimensions has been covered. My question is more from a monetization perspective, or even I will try to limit my discussion to the banking sector specifically. In banking, we have seen the movement has happened from branches to the internet banking to the mobile banking, and the thing which has been probably created is that saving time in visiting the branch, saving time in number of clicks you are doing, reducing the journey. Now, when we talk about metaverse and banks creating the branch, and I have worked in JP Morgan, the example you were saying, Neha. Now, if a customer goes into the metaverse and visits a branch, again he has to spend more time doing the similar transaction where he was doing it in the less number of steps and less number of time during the mobile banking. So, how that contradictory messaging will work out from a service industry perspective? While bank will say, okay, I will open the branch, visit to my branch in metaverse, while customer will say, if I visit that branch, I have to spend more time for the same transaction, while I can do the same transaction on mobile banking in few clicks.
I agree and disagree. So, who will go to the branch? Let's understand that first. Who goes to the branch? I heard that, people went to the branch to find out how mobile banking works. Right? So today, branch is a support. It is not, you don't go there for transaction. So your virtual branches will be visited not for transactions. They will be visited for support, for, insurance industry, even for banking industry, product recommendations, or for financial training or portfolio creation. So those are the reasons why people will visit the virtual branch. They will not visit for fund transfers or for withdrawal of money. That does not really make sense. I have alternates for that. But I will have a branch that caters to these kind of use cases where I still need a one-to-one interaction. That guy still wants to know which credit card do I take, or still wants to know where do I invest my money. Those are the kind of transactions I will train the virtual staff in. Those are the use cases that I see. And I agree with you because mobile banking does so much that I would avoid going to a virtual branch for. Right? So you will have to look at use cases why he still walks to the branch. And not that the branches are empty today. Branches are also filled with people. And convert those use cases into your virtual branches.
Just to add on, we have to understand, a lot of software engineers, they don't even come out of the room. Right. So visiting the branch, everything is coming in the room. Even if they are sharing a flat, there would be one guy in that flat who is not even coming out of the room.
Exactly.
Everything is coming in his room only. The bank also has to come in his room. Because he is in that virtual world, he or she, that person doesn't want to come out. So bank has to go there. sooner or later. So that bank or insurance company, they have to go there. So that is what we have to look at forward to.
I just want to add on quickly because I heard it second time, but just to add one thing is, today the companies cannot force to you that you have to come to us to buy your things. As a company, you have to be available where your customer is. So irrespective of it is mobile banking or branch or a metaverse, if people want you to be there, you have to be there. We cannot just ignore it. As a company, you have to be available for them. That will be my point of view. So thank you anyways. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And well, really, thank you for such an interesting outlook and sharing your constructive discussion out here. Thank you once again for the thoughts and the expertise. Now I shall request Mr. Hitesh Sajdev, Head Startup Engagement and Investments, ICICI Bank, to please come on stage to felicitate our moderator and panelists.